on the Hardrocker Sports Network from K-Tech 91.3. This is Hardrocker Huddle, your podcast home for South Dakota Mines athletics.
My name is Josh Van Valkenburg-Gernert. This is another episode of the Hardrocker Huddle. Today we're bringing in guest Travis Kleinsasser, part of the men's track and field team. You have kind of a little bit of a different journey to getting into collegiate sports, but first, just talk a little bit about growing up in Huron. What was that like? What your siblings and family life was like?
Sure. First off, thanks for having me. It's pretty exciting. So Huron, South Dakota, it's smack dab in the middle of the eastern half of South Dakota. It's a relatively small town, about 13,000 people, and it's the only hometown I ever known. Like, that's where I grew up. That's where I spent the first 18 years of my life. So I liked it. It treated me well. Growing up, I had mom and a dad, older sister, older brother. My sister wasn't very much into sports, but my older brother definitely was. He was definitely an influence. He's 4 years older than me, did football, wrestling, and track, just like me. Yeah, I would say really, really good childhood. Never had to worry about anything, like really good home life. Started sports early and kind of stuck with it.
Sure. You mentioned starting early. What kind of age do you think what was when you really first got involved in any of those sports you mentioned? And was your brother kind of a big influence on you getting into sports?
Getting into sports, really young, probably like park and rec soccer or t-ball. I don't think my brother was an influence getting into sports, but especially when I hit middle school and high school, he was a huge influence. I mean, there's times where he woke me up at 6 a.m., like, we're going to the weight room, like, you're lifting with me, like, dragging me out of bed to go lift. And so it was inconvenient at the time, but I appreciate that, and yeah.
You mentioned kind of being involved in football, track, and wrestling earlier. When did you kind of start to narrow down on those three sports? Was it a high school, or was it even earlier than that?
So I quit baseball probably like 5th grade just because I couldn't hit the ball. Soccer I played up until 8th grade, and then I chose football over soccer, and so I did football, wrestling, and track, I think from all 4 years of high school.
Sure, and what kind of success did you have when you were in high school? Was your football team pretty good, and then same for track and wrestling?
So football, the team was not very good. I also was not very good. I was the kicker my junior and senior year. The coolest thing I probably did on the football field was I got player of the game once because I kicked like 3 or 4 field goals, one of which was a 44-yarder. So that's probably the coolest thing I did on the football field, but it really wasn't my thing. Wrestling, I was varsity my junior and senior year. Made it to state my junior year, went 1-2 barbecue, got beat out right away. Senior year, I won regions, made it to state, and got 6th, and the team also ended up getting 6th, so that was pretty good. I also won the hardest working wrestler award junior and senior year with both my practice partners, so that's probably the award that I'm most proud of, like even more so than getting 6th at state, just being recognized for my work ethic and my practice partner's work ethic as well. Track, I pretty much all my success in track was because of pole vault. I was kind of fast, but not fast enough to make a difference really. So pole vault, I made it to state 3 years, sophomore, junior, and senior year. I got 6th my sophomore year, 3rd, and 3rd. So never won state, unfortunately, but I did make it to state. And I did win the boys track MVP and male athlete of the year my senior year, so that was really cool.
Yeah, you mentioned being mostly pole vault, or did you do some running stuff or any other field events as well, or mostly pole vault?
Mostly pole vault, but just because it was a relatively small school, smallest school in AA for South Dakota, and because I was kind of fast, like I was put in relays, but my main event was definitely pole vault.
Sure, and then what weight class were you in when you wrestled?
I wrestled 170 both years.
We kind of talked about this a little bit at the beginning, that you weren't, initially when you came here, you weren't necessarily going to be in sports, right? So what kind of initially brought you to South Dakota Mines? What were you interested in? What drew you here?
Yep. So my older brother came here. He was having a really good experience. He's 4 years older, so he was kind of on the downward slope of his mines journey, and he had a really good experience here. And I knew engineering was kind of what I wanted to do, so this just kind of seemed like the place to be.
Sure, and then I believe it was your whole freshman year you were not in track, right? It wasn't until your second year that you started kind of getting in with the track team?
So I came and talked to the coaches. I think my first practice was March 19th of my freshman year. Okay. So fall semester I was not in track at all, and then for the first half of my spring semester freshman year.
So what kind of made you decide that, I don't know, you wanted to be in college? Was it just that you missed it from high school, or what kind of made you realize you wanted to do it at the college level?
Yeah, so pretty much I got dumped, and as you can imagine, I was not having a very good time. And so I was doing some reflection from down in the dumps, and I realized like it wasn't healthy for me to be moping around, and I wanted something that was going to distract me from how I felt and like just take up a lot of my time, and something I'd be good at. And as you mentioned, like I was kind of having withdrawals from like competition from being in sports all through high school, and I had already competed unattached at a Black Hills State meet, and so the idea of track was already in my mind. And so putting everything together, I just kind of settled on track. So I made my way up to the King Center, found the coaches, said, hey, my name's Travis, I vaulted 14.9 in high school, I ran an 11.7 100, and I kind of want to be a multi. And at the time, I couldn't long jump, I couldn't high jump, I still can't. I wasn't a thrower, never hurdled, and they had no idea what type of gas tank I would have for the 1K or the 1500. And so, not surprisingly, I got told no to being a multi. But they did let me on the team as a pole vaulter, and I loved it. Like, I was getting into shape, I was part of a team, I got to compete all over Colorado, Montana, South Dakota. Like, it was really good. I loved it.
So did you start right away then, your freshman year, or was it not until your sophomore year that you started actually competing in meets?
Yeah, no, I got to compete probably 2 or 3 weeks after I started practice.
So right away in the outdoor season, basically, yeah. You probably missed indoor.
Yeah. I missed all of indoor, and I didn't go to, I think it was a BH meet was the first outdoor meet, but the first meet I went to was in Montana.
Sure. So just had that conversation with the coaches, was it something you reached out to them about first, or did you just kind of walk into their office one day and that was how it started?
If I remember it right, I just kind of walked in. They knew who I was because I had competed unattached at BH, and so like there were some athletes that like knew me, and like I'm sure they knew who I was, but if I remember right, I just kind of walked in and.
Yeah, and you mentioned starting out as a pole vaulter. You did eventually get into doing multis like you wanted this year, right? So this is your second or third year with the program.
Let's see. March of 2019, so 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. And this is your first year. You've been doing HAP and deck this year. So what was that transition like to get into the more of the multi stuff?
First of all, it was exciting. I was on co-op in Utah when I got the text from Coach Yu, like asking if I'd be interested, and I was ecstatic. Like I was jumping for joy. It was super cool. So I was excited first of all, and then I think it's been good. I mean, 10 events or like learning a bunch of new disciplines in track is a little overwhelming, but because of the way our indoor and outdoor season are set up in the year, we have a very long fall conditioning process, and so I did have a lot of time to adjust.
And yeah, you've had some success pretty much right away. You got second team all conference in the HAP. You're also second on the all-time top 10 list with 4,588 points in the HAP. So what was that kind of like to just jump right into it and be successful pretty much right away?
Exciting. So, well, like I said, I was in Utah on co-op, and so I had missed I had redshirted all of indoor and outdoor my junior season, and sophomore year outdoor was canceled because of COVID, and so I had been off for, I hadn't competed in a meet in probably a year and a half, and so to be able to come back and PR in the 60, PR in pole vault, and perform decently well in everything else was really exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then obviously we're still early in the outdoor season, but you've kind of been going all over the place again. You've competed in the 200 meter, the discus. You were in the 4x4 this weekend, right? And then you've also been in the hurdles and the javelin, in addition to the deck. So what has it kind of been like to be able to balance all those different events and still, how do you train for all those events, I guess is the first question.
So how do you train for them? Yeah, I train a lot. Let's see. I just kind of show up to practice when they tell me to practice, and I don't know, get after it, I guess. There is, like, the thing with the decathlon or multis in general, you don't have to be exceptional at an event. Like, I'm a pole vaulter, and so I expect to, like, win the pole vault event or at least, like, be top 3. Whereas, like, high jump, I struggle with immensely. Like, I cannot figure out how to high jump. And so the goal there is just get to a point where it doesn't hurt my total score too bad. Like, obviously I want to succeed and, like, grow, but, I mean, the thing with the deck is you don't have to be great at all the events. You just have to be pretty good at most of them.
Sure, and yeah, you've also had some success early in the outdoor season when you did the javelin on its own. You got second in that. Mm-hmm. And then you also took a first place in the deck and also second in the top 10 board. So just how, I guess, having such a long break too, what has it been like to just be able to get right back on the horse and have some pretty much immediate success?
I said exciting like a whole bunch, but it is really cool. When I was on co-op, I did a lot of training by myself, and Coach Carl was putting out lifts for us to do, so I tried to keep up with those. And so I wasn't just sitting on my butt all my co-op. Like I was thinking about track season and working towards it. And like I said before, there is a very long fall conditioning period, and so it's not like I just showed up and like immediate success, but to be able to be a multi in my first season and see some relative success, like it is exciting.
Yeah, and then what is your approach, I guess, to maybe the different events? It must be a different approach knowing you're going to be doing the 10 events in the deck compared to a meet where you're just doing a relay and you're just doing a javelin. So what does the physical and mental approach look like for you?
So physical, I would just say, like when I'm in practice, I try to really understand the event, like what am I trying to make my body do, and then I guess figure out what it is I'm trying to do, and then practice it enough that I know how it feels, and then I can methodically give myself cues or know what to think about when I'm doing each event. And yeah, and I guess the mental approach, it's not as overwhelming as you would think, like, because you do one event at a time, and then you get a half-hour break, and then you go to the next event. And so you do have some time to recover if you underperformed, or to kind of come off your high horse if you overperformed.
But part of that, too, you must have to kind of, like, forget about it really fast and then move on, since you only have that half an hour or whatever between event number 1, whatever it is, and event number 2 of the Hepper deck.
Yes, I mean, to be honest, I haven't had a super disappointing event other than discus. Discus, I really underperformed. That was kind of sucky, but I really haven't had an event where I've had to really forget about it yet. Hopefully, not ever.
And then we already kind of mentioned some of your successes. What are your goals for, like, once you get to the remainder of the season, and then once you get to the RMAC championships here in about a few weeks, both individually and as a team as well?
I guess individually, I'd like to go top 5 at conference. Right now, I'm ranked number 1, but that's just because a lot of other Colorado schools haven't completed a deck yet. So I don't expect to be ranked number 1 going into the conference. But I would like to go top 5. I'd also like to hit a provisional mark in the decathlon and in the pole vault. I don't want to say I'm close to the pole vault provisional mark, but I'm definitely in the ballpark. Like I'm shooting for that. The school record in the deck is also something I'm got my eye on. As a team, I just want to take as many people to conference as I can and have everyone perform well. I guess I don't know what everyone's individual goals are, but I mean, I'd like the team to perform well.
Yeah, and you really have been as a team. I mean, both the men and women finished in the top 5 overall at the last 2 events. At Spearfish, you finished 20 points away from first place on the men's side. So there's been a lot of improvement just from the indoor to the outdoor season. So what do you guys kind of have to do to carry that over and keep that rolling?
I'd say to keep improving. We're at the point of the season where like we have a very good base with all of our fall conditioning. We're experienced. Like we are in the competitive mindset, and I'd say to just stay healthy and then keep hitting workouts hard, and don't let being on co-op, I was really missing track, and I was having competition withdrawals, and so we just have to stay hungry in the season. Like, because we're getting meets every single week, I think that we may be forgetting that, like, these are special. Like, we need to hit these meets hard. Like, I'm only going to 3 more meets this year. Like, we got a home meet, I'm going to Kearney, probably not going to Mines, and then there's conference. And so there's really only 3 more events, or 3 more meets for me, and then it's over until next year. Yeah. And so we just got to stay hungry and keep getting after it in practice.
Yeah, track's definitely a little different because you have like not even 2 months of indoor and then not even 2 months of outdoor, really. So then you have to be ready to go, and you have to be. I imagine if you had like a couple meets that didn't go well, it would kind of suck because you'd have to carry that over all the way until the next winter, basically.
Especially like in pole vault, if you know height, it's such a mental thing. And you were mentioning we only get like 2 months of indoor, and that's like 7 meets. And then I get really bad jealousy when I look at like the basketball schedule, and they have 30 games, and like the games are so long, whereas like pole vault, like you've jumped 8-10 times and then you're done.
Yeah, and you have one bad jump, and then that's it for the meet. Like if you miss it, you're done.
You get 3 attempts each time, but yeah.
But yeah, it's a little bit different how it works in track for sure. Kind of moving on. I know you're involved in a bunch of different things here on campus. One of the things you're involved in is Res Life. Mm-hmm. What do you kind of do for Res Life? Are you an RA, or what does it look like? What do you do?
Yep, so I've been an RA, which is a resident advisor, since my sophomore year of college. So this is my 3rd year, and so I live in the dorms with freshmen, and my job is basically policy enforcement and community building. And so it's my job to make sure they don't burn the place down, and make sure that pretty much everyone has a friend, making sure people get connected. And to do that, I try to build relationships with them and put on fun events. And I'm in the outdoor pursuits interest community, and so a lot of what I do is based around all of my favorite things to do, which is basically sports and the outdoors. And so, like in the past, we've gone camping, dodgeball. Last year we did archery. So there's just, I don't know, I really enjoy it.
When you do those kind of events, like you mentioned archery, where are you going to do that? Is that like a multi-day thing, or you just kind of go and...
Usually, we try to limit it to like 2 or 3 hours. And in the past, we've cooperated a lot with Outdoor Campus West, which is a game fish and parks facility here in town. This year, we've done camping where we I think it was Pactola, maybe? I'm not sure.
You're also involved in Circle K. I have no idea what that is, so first just explain to me, and I guess everyone else, what Circle K is, and then what you do for that as well.
Yep, so Circle K is the college level of Kiwanis. It's a volunteer organization, and because track practice overlaps with when the weekly meetings are, I don't go to the weekly meetings, unfortunately, but a lot of what they do is just like service work, and so every year they do Trick or Treat for Canned Goods, which is just a food drive basically around town, and I've participated in that, I think all 3 years of college.
Sure, so it's various fundraising type things like canned good drives and stuff like that.
Yep, canned good drives, and then just a lot of service because we're able-bodied college students looking for stuff to do.
Sure. That's not it though. You're also in Two Left Feet Country Swing Dance Club. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What do you do? What is that first? Obviously, it's a dance club.
Yep.
But how much do you meet? How many people are involved? What does that look like?
Yep. So it's a weekly meeting. It's 2 hours in the basement of the Newman Center. They just play some country music, and you go there and dance with whoever you want. And yeah, I started my freshman year. My older brother was involved in that, of course, and so I got into that. And I made some really good friends around country swing dancing, and I continued it all through my co-op, and I came back, and I'm still dancing.
Swing dancing is pretty hard, though. Is that something you knew how to do before you got here, or did you kind of learn through that club?
So I learned it through college. It was my freshman year. I pretty much learned the basics, and then I've just kind of been adding to my arsenal throughout.
Yeah, swing dancing is not easy, so that's impressive.
It's surprisingly similar to wrestling because you got two people, you got to know how your body works, how the other person's body works. It's and a lot of moves, you just kind of string the moves together, and I found it to be very similar to wrestling.
That's a very interesting comparison. I would have never even
Less exertion though, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure.
You can dance for more than 6 minutes. Wrestling for 3 periods is kind of rough.
Yeah, for sure. You also, you do pretty well in the classroom as well. Your GPA is like a little bit above 3.6. How do you kind of, how do you succeed in the classroom? What are your methods to being able to have success in the classroom? Do you do a lot of studying, or is there times where you kind of have to just take a break from everything? And I guess what are your personal tips for success in the classroom?
Well, I will admit this year has been relatively mild in comparison to my sophomore and junior year. Sophomore and junior year were pretty rough. To succeed in the classroom, I'm an unapologetic tryhard. I didn't get a lot of sleep those years, which isn't the way to do it, but I do all the homework, usually, if they collect it, and I really try to understand what the professor's teaching us, not just completing the homework, but actually understanding, how does this apply to what I'm doing, and so really seeking to understand what it is I'm trying to learn, and then just trying really hard. Studying. I like doing examples more than just reading because I like examples. I don't know.
Yeah, and this is not the easiest school in the world, and I've heard from some other people too that junior year is the really, really difficult year. Was that the case for you as well?
So I went on co-op spring of my junior year, and so I only had the fall semester. Looking back, I'm not sure which semester was the hardest. Sophomore year and junior year were definitely the roughest. I'm not sure which one.
Sure. You kind of mentioned a couple times you were on a co-op. What did you do for your co-op? Where did you go for that?
Yep. So I had a co-op with Kimberly-Clark in Ogden, Utah. Kimberly-Clark is a global brand. They're huge. They make, I think, Kleenex. They do a bunch of diapers. They do Scott brand paper towels and toilet paper, and they're involved in a lot of paper products. And the facility I was at made diapers, and so pull-ups, Huggies, and Depends, as well as Costco brand, male and female, all the sizes, and they supplied the whole western United States. And what I did was mechanical engineering internship co-op work, which involved a lot of SolidWorks, which is a 3D modeling software. And so most of what I did was updating their online library of all the parts. And so when they make a physical change to the machines out on the plant floor, they want that to be reflected in the library in case something breaks or in case they want to make a new plant like down in Mexico. And so that way they have up-to-date parts, and so if something breaks, they know exactly, like, this is the part number, these are the dimensions, this is where we get it. Like, they are obviously they're a very big company, and time is money, and so if I can save them time when looking up stuff or being more accurate, that's what I did. I had some other smaller projects as well. Like, I got to cooperate a lot with my engineering manager, my mentor, a lot of the other mechanical engineering guys and the other engineering people, as well as the operators and maintenance guys. But most of what I did was SolidWorks.
Sure. Kind of wanted to talk just a little bit about how you balance everything, you know, the res life, Circle K, the dance club, obviously the classroom plus track. That's a lot, especially at this school. Mm-hmm. So what do you kind of do to stay mentally healthy, and how do you balance all of these different things?
As far as staying balanced, like I kind of hinted at before, I don't sleep a whole lot, which this year it's been my fault because my course load has been pretty light, and so I just end up spending way too much time on my phone or my computer or whatever, and then boom, it's 2 a.m. But in the past, I would say just trying hard. I don't know. And then to be mentally healthy, like, I get a lot of energy from, like, being around people, and so, like, being in track and, like, being in all these clubs and, like, going out and, like, seeing people, like, that's really how I stay mentally healthy. Like, I really value the relationships I make with people, and I've got really good friends, basically.
Yeah, it's really important to, especially when you're involved in all that stuff, to make sure you're having fun too. Like, obviously school isn't necessarily the most fun thing in the world, and even a sport sometimes, like, obviously it's enjoyable, but sometimes it can be a grind too. So it's important to have like a hobby or something else that you can do and enjoy, for sure. Now this summer, if this is correct, you're doing another internship, right?
Yep.
And that's with Flintco?
Yep.
Okay, what does they do, and then what kind of things are you going to be doing with them?
So Flintco is a nationwide general contractor, so they do construction type work, and they're in town here building a health center or a hospital up by West Middle School, so that's the project I'll be on. I'm not sure exactly what work I'll be doing, but it is more construction related as opposed to a manufacturing facility, and so I'm trying to widen my experience there so that I have a better direction to go when I do decide to go full time. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. My interview went really well. Well, I had a couple interviews, but my in-person interview with some of the crew that I'd be working with went really well, and I'm excited for it.
Sure. Are you at a point now where you kind of know what you want to do in the future, or is doing kind of this other thing, is that kind of why you're doing it, to make sure what you want to do once you graduate?
So I don't have a clue what I want to do. As far as, like, the specific direction I want to go, I do know in a full-time job, I want to, like, solve problems. I want to feel useful. I want to see progress. I like working in teams. And so, like, those are kind of my criteria. I'm not sure what job would fit that, but if it checks all those boxes, I think it'll be okay. Outside of, like, a full-time job, I really want to be, like, an assistant high school wrestling coach, or like a pole vault coach or a sprints coach, just because I know the impact that high school sports had on me, and if I can give that to, 5 or 10 kids a year, or, like, even just a few, like, that'd be huge and really rewarding. Plus, I could see progress and feel useful and solve problems and, like, all the stuff related to coaching. Plus, I just really love track and wrestling.
Sure. What do you have any, like, preference on where you want to be located when you get a full-time job, or you kind of just wherever it takes you?
Well, right now, like, I'm young, I'm single, like, I can go out, like, I can go wherever. Like, on my co-op in Utah, like, I loved it. I also really enjoy all the other places I've ever been. And so, like, most of my friends and family are in South Dakota. So I would say if I don't end up in South Dakota, I'm gonna end up somewhere really cool, like overseas or like Salt Lake or Ogden or something. But I don't know where I want to go.
Sure. And you're a mechanical engineering major, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So what is it about the mechanical side that I guess made you interested in that as opposed to some of the other areas?
I wish there was like a super huge reason, but my brother was a civil, and I didn't want to be a civil like him. And so, like, when deciding, like, coming to mines, my dad just sat down with me and read through all the majors that South Dakota Mines had, and it's like, well, mechanical sounds cool, so I'll do that. And I mean, it's worked out so far. So.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of, like, if you were to talk to somebody who was an incoming freshman, what do you think you would tell somebody who hasn't made up their mind yet on coming here?
I guess I would just describe to them what my experience has been like, because if they're looking to go to a huge school and I don't know, just go to a huge school, this probably isn't the place. If they want to just party or, not have a bunch of schoolwork to do, this probably isn't the place. But I could just describe all the positives that I've had here. Like I've mentioned a few times, I've had great relationships. Like, I have awesome friends. Obviously, I like the track team. I've been involved in a lot of stuff. I've had relative academic success. So yeah, I would just talk to them about what I've experienced, and then depending on what they want, if they decide to come here, that's up to them.
And then, kind of along those same lines, what would your advice be on how to succeed for somebody who is for sure coming here as a freshman?
First, I would probably make the assumption that since they're coming here, they were probably one of the smarter kids in their high school and kind of breezed through high school. And that gets a lot of people in trouble because people come here and they think they're smart. Like, that happened to me. Like, I thought I was smart. And then chemistry hit me, and physics hit me, and just a whole bunch of classes hit me. And so my advice would be, I would encourage them to go talk to their professors during office hours, because these professors know what they're talking about. Like, they're the people testing you, and so if you want to know what you're being tested over or how to better understand it, you need to go talk to your professor. There's also a ton of other resources on campus as far as, like, resident peer mentor, there's tutoring, there's just all kinds of people that are here to help you. And so that would be how to succeed academically, how to succeed, like, socially, or, like, how to grow as a person. Definitely join clubs, definitely get out of your room and make some friends, and just take advantage of everything that the school offers. I mean, your tuition pays for, like, your admission into sporting events. Go to sporting events, join clubs. A lot of these clubs are, I will say all the clubs are awesome, but I can only speak for, a few of them. And so I would just say get involved and get out there.
For you, so you're technically a senior this year, correct?
Yep, I'm at senior status, but I'm not going to graduate until May of 2023.
Okay, but that'll be still your undergrad, you're not in grad.
Correct,
okay.
Correct.
And then just for you personally, when you kind of, maybe you haven't even done this yet, but when you kind of look back at all the things you've done and all the, I guess, accomplishments you've had, what do you kind of look back and are like, wow, I can't believe I did this. That was just an awesome experience. And what have you been most proud of?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. I would say, like, the things I value most from my experience at Mines has been definitely, like, the friends I've made. I have the best friends in the world. Like, that's, I don't know. I'm a little biased, but my friends are awesome. I am kind of proud of, like, the decent GPA. I mean, like you said, school is hard, and, like, I know how hard I worked for it, so I am kind of proud of that. But I I would say like what I value the most is definitely my friends.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Travis. I don't have any other questions for you today unless you have anything you want to add.
Go Hardrockers.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been Josh Van Valkenburg-Gernert, and this has been the Hardrocker Huddle. I'm signing off.